This is Jordan Poyer, safety for the Buffalo Bills, and you are now listening to Cover One Buffalo Podcast. Let's go.
Welcome back for another recap here of the Cover One Buffalo Podcast, joined again by Joe Marino, Locked On Bills. We got to take in our second session here today. Exciting to see the Panthers and Bills knock it out again.
Yeah, we stood in the sun for the people today. We wanted to give you more of a complete recap, so we got out of the shade and positioned ourselves so we can see both fields, primarily seeing the Bills' defense against the Panthers' offense, but a more comprehensive view today.
Yeah, it was nice to see. It was good to see. A little bit warm, but we did it for you. It was great to see. Let's start out with some of the things we were looking at. There are a couple new names coming in that nickel cornerback role.
Yeah, Saran Neal, right? He's a player that I was really excited to see. Thought he could take a bigger jump this year and command a bigger role in this defense. You saw him peppered in a little bit more with the ones in terms of playing slot, but really in the 1v1s, I thought is really where he popped. He was sticky in man coverage, but the 2 reps against Greg Olsen, where he was right there in phase with him. They challenged him, and he was draped all over him. 2 incompletions on those situations. So very encouraged to see Saran Neal, maybe the bigger slot, and you can play the matchups more if you're playing more of a flex tight end or a bigger slot as opposed to maybe some of the shiftier guys that Taron Johnson can keep up with. So really like the versatility and what he can bring to the defense.
Yeah, we were talking about it watching. That doesn't necessarily mean less reps for Taron Johnson. It might be more flexibility. Maybe that's fewer 3 linebacker looks where Saran Neal is in there as that big nickel in those matchups, where it's going to allow them the versatility to be able to look at both sets, where you can mix in another guy there. So I think that the NFL is not going away from needing that nickel. I think Taron Johnson's role is very solidified, but we saw the first guy checking in for him was interesting today.
Yeah, you called this one Captain Munnerlyn. So what's your take there?
Captain Munnerlyn coming aboard, being signed. They held him out yesterday. He's getting ready. His very first rep as a Buffalo Bill was subbing in for Taron Johnson with the first team defense at nickel. That's not the kind of guy that you're easing into the third team here and he's working to fight for a spot. That's a guy that you seem to have plans for.
And it felt like the guy that maybe whose reps were diminished today because of that was Lafayette Pitts, right? We didn't see as much of him. He did give up a vertical shot in one-on-ones, which are always difficult. They're always slanted towards the offense. But it felt like the reps that we saw Pitts commanding yesterday were more in favor of Captain Munnerlyn. And there was some deliberate time that Sean McDermott spent with Captain Munnerlyn going through the checks and making sure he was ready to step in. It feels like they want him to be part of this.
Yeah, I think Bills fans need to get their mind around the fact that may be someone who's here and going to be a part of this roster. So interesting to see that there. I know we got a rep where Ed Oliver was able to kind of make some hay, wreak a little bit of havoc, and Taron Johnson could have picked it off. A couple other highlights there, but I thought the defense really held their own overall.
Yeah, you know what? It was interesting because the way that this Panthers offense plays, their tempo is really, really slow. But so their pace was hard to follow at sometimes. But when they do snap the football, there's so much misdirection, so much window dressing and eye candy and then they're really attacking the shorter areas of the field. It could be Cam's shoulder, not really wanting to launch the deep stuff, but it was a lot of timing and misdirection type stuff. And you saw the Bills adjust that a little bit. A lot more zone looks. You're seeing Trent Murphy and Jerry Hughes taking reps back in coverage. You're seeing a lot of blitzes from Milano and Alexander. So it's interesting how they countered that. And there's one play that really popped for me. It was a rep where Jordan Poyer was playing on the far hash, and Cam Newton, you knew he thought he had 1v1 on the left side. And Jordan Poyer did a really good job of flashing and then getting back and taking a great angle. Took away that rep, forced a check down from Cam Newton. We talk about these safeties and how well they are or how good they are at disguising coverage and not giving you much to get pre-snap. That was a really fun way to see that from the back view of that exactly happening with Jordan Poyer and how it really took away potentially a big play.
Absolutely. It was really encouraging to see. I know as a fan, it was almost hard to pay attention to where the Panthers were going. So much eye candy, so much movement, multiple reps where we saw 2 and 3 linemen as a false key going away from the play so that they could do a tunnel screen or a draw or a quick dump off the other direction. And I can't imagine what that's like in live action on the field when you're a safety or a linebacker, significantly closer than we were watching it from afar. It was really interesting to be able to see that, and I was impressed. And besides the one, I think that they got Curtis Samuel got Trey on one deep ball that was pretty clean. Other than that, they held up pretty well, and I think Jarris Wright sat down for a zone soft spot in the zone in front of Dean Marlowe later on, with the only 2 scores that were given up in live, simulated drive action. So overall, I'd say that the Bills held up pretty well.
Very tight. I felt for the most part they were where they were supposed to be in their spots. Now the third group, you could tell there were some communication issues, which was expected, but I really like that even though Carolina maybe got some shorter completions, Poyer's there, Milano's there, Edmonds is there, and this team's really playing fast. And I think that comes with players more experienced playing together in this system. the speed and this defense really becoming a group that plays collectively faster and flowing to the football is something we'll see this year.
And I know one player that I had mentioned in the Colts game that I maybe had a little hesitation on was, when we saw Devin Funchess get Matt Milano on a crossing route, he wasn't catching up to him, he was kind of pulling away. I was reassured today. Granted, it's just very small snippets, small sample size stuff, but being able to see, there was a crossing route, Ian Thomas, that Matt Milano was right in his hip the whole time, right on top of him. That's a really athletic tight end. Then you're talking about another play, Christian McCaffrey, possibly the best receiving back coming out of the backfield in the NFL. He had a really nifty route down towards the goal line. Milano broke down, was right in his hip pocket, didn't let him pull away, made a tackle for a loss. It was just reassuring to see that short area quickness and him being able to kick it into gear when he needed to.
Absolutely, and we did get to see the offense a little bit today. And I mean, from what we saw, it was the John Brown, the Cole Beasley, the Ray McLeod show over there. But there was a tight end that flash, right?
Yeah.
Kyle Carter, man.
Interesting.
They were running a lot of bench routes with him, and Matt Barkley were hooking up there outside the number. So it was good to see a tight end in a group where we need some guys to really step forward. I thought Kyle Carter really flashed in addition to, I thought, John Brown. Every time I looked, it was a lot of separation and there was a lot of good timing with Josh Allen.
Yeah, no joke. We might have seen 6 or 7 catches from John Brown, which is,
day.
Consistently an area of focus. Another area, just another step forward for Mitch Morse.
Yes.
Just very encouraging. He was taking snaps or giving snaps to Josh Allen out there with the quarterbacks. He's out there right now doing more agility drills about 50 yards from us. Was doing the gassers across the field, had his helmet on. That is a man that is in the final stages of the protocol. Again, I'm not a medical expert. I have no idea. He looks like a guy who's ready to play football. I assume that the Bills are going to be very cautious. I certainly don't expect him to be here anytime this week, that he's not even cleared from the protocol. I don't know that I even expect him in the Detroit game at the end of next week, but he looks like someone who is trending the right direction.
Yeah, we were excited about him yesterday, and I thought today he was even more engaged. He was snapping the football. Steven Kaushka is getting field goal work, and guess what's going on in the background? Mitch Morse running half gassers, man. He's getting himself ready to play football games. Special teams real quick?
Yeah.
You want to?
All right. I'm ready to come clean, people. I had been the president of the Corey Bajorquez fan club, and I may maintain that love for him, but it's going to be a defunct club pretty soon. Corey Carter's pulling away in this battle, in that there was a stretch at the very beginning of practice where both teams had both their punters kicking, and it was noticeable every time it was Corey Carter. He might have had the 4 or 5 best punts out of all 4 punters of the guys that were there. When they were doing field goal reps, it was him being the holder. I don't know that it's over, but he's got a sizable lead.
Yeah, the consistency, hitting the ball, getting the distance, getting the hang time.
But
then
hang time was so noticeable.
The fact that he's Steven Hauschka's holder now, and that really speaks to the almost, it's a very close secondary concern to being able to punt, is having that consistency and timing down with Steven Hauschka, who had his worst season as a pro last year. Obviously, the injury played into that, but he also had 3 different holders. And so as soon as they can get on the same page with that holder, it's going to matter, because we don't want to deal with missed field goals and inconsistency in that department.
And I know we were on the opposite field, but we saw him maybe make 3 field goals. Yeah. All 3 were good. All 3 would have been good another 15, 20 yards further than where they were. Looked totally fine. So it looks clean there, and if Carter can continue on the trajectory he is now, at least staying even with it, it looks like he's going to be our punter for this year.
Yeah, get the timing down with Hauschka.
Yeah. All right. Well, thanks, guys. That wraps it up for day 2. It was a lot of fun. We're looking forward to another game. One item we didn't touch on, again, thank you. 2 full days where everybody looked healthy. The one question that came up, we got a lot of questions here about Ty and Secchi. We didn't see anything. He was in full pads. He had his helmet the whole time. He was talking to people and watching, so it looked like he could have gone in, but he didn't take any reps that we saw. So it wasn't necessarily a veteran days off, because he had his pads, he had his helmet, he had everything that was there, but he never took a rep. So I don't know exactly what to make of it.
Another note, Dawson Knox, the first 30 minutes, probably 30 minutes before the team really kicked off practice, he was out here getting a workout in with Rob Boris, the tight ends coach. So another step. His hamstring was wrapped, but I think a really positive step in seeing him back on the field.
Yeah, I think that from an injury standpoint, we're trending in the right direction. We saw Tyler Kroft walking around, no limp, looking solid. Again, Dawson Knox looking very good. Mitch Morse in the final stages of it here. So we'll hope that we didn't see anything from Ty and Secchi and that remains good. But overall, a successful 2 days.
Yeah, a lot of fun. Good to see this team on the field.
Thanks again, Joe.
Yep.
Had a great time. Thanks, everybody. We'll talk to you soon.